Welcome back to my animation channel. Thanks very much for joining me. I'm putting up a compilation of some of my videos from my course. These are the basic OpenToonz videos, and it's from my Animating with OpenToonz course. I made them last year or even 18 months ago. So I've compiled 5 of them, and these 5 represent an absolute fraction of what's in the course. At the moment, it's sitting at 150 videos with over 20 hours of material. I've actually lost count at this stage, but this video here is just a compilation of 5 of those videos. Okay, so let's get started. Today I'm going to look at Works, which is a great app for drawing clouds. It was released by the same people that released OpenToonz, that's Dwango, and it is a cloud generator. In the past, I used to draw my clouds in Krita, and I've made a video about that. I find creating clouds quite relaxing and enjoyable, but then I did come across Works, and it really does take a lot of the time and the frustration out of getting your lighting, etc. right. So I can highly recommend it. So to find it, go to the GitHub website where you can download OpenToonz. Scroll down and Works is at the bottom. You scroll down to the download it, and it's a very basic install. Open it up and there is your working screen. It's very simple. Bottom left of the toolbox, you can add your cloud. Just click on the tool there and you can go and draw in your cloud. It will close the drawing and then press enter, and it will take a few seconds and it will render a cloud within that rough squiggle of a line that you've drawn. Very cool. It's got a bunch of sliders on the left and at the bottom. It's got a sun. That dot there is the sun reference, and you can grab it and move it around to move the shadows around the cloud. And you can use the sky render slider to make it brighter, darker, etc. You can adjust the camera field of view, the elevation, etc. All those sliders on the left. You can also bring in a background. You don't have to use the set background. You can import a background. Top left there, you can import your background. And also you can create multiple clouds. So we're just drawing a few clouds here. And then on the bottom left, you can put one cloud above the other or in front of the other. You move the sun around and it automatically renders the clouds, the shadow in the cloud, using that source of the sun. The other cool thing is that once you've scribbled out your rough cloud, you can go down to the bottom left, and we'll just zoom in here. It's got all the different types of clouds. So although you've drawn a rough sketch, you can select alto stratus, cumulonimbus, cumulus, fluffy. You can select a default. You can have fractus, no noise, volcanic, smoke, and alto stratus. It sounds like we're going back to school geography, but they're all down there in the bottom left. So it will actually create one of those cloud types from your rough sketch. Very cool. Here we select the alto stratus. Here we select the cumulonimbus, and it doesn't change a whole lot. So let's try the volcanic smoke. And after you make a selection, just hit enter and it will render it. That's looking pretty cool. Let's select the other cloud just by clicking on it, or you can use the bottom left box. And let's make that one a fractus cloud, so it's nice and fluffy. So if you want to add another cloud, just go down to the layers section in the bottom left, click add, nice little cloud icon there, and it will add a new cloud 3, and we go sketch it in. And then we can go and select what type of cloud we want. We are going for the flat, unpronounceable one, alto stratus cloud. And there we go, hit enter and it renders out your nice alto stratus cloud. So once we've done all this, we can save it. Just go up to the top left, save scene, go put it where you want it. We can also render these out. Go up to the top left, click the render button, and it gives you a few options. You can render each cloud as a separate image. You can render the current selected cloud only, or you can combine all the clouds that you have on your scene and render them together. So it gives you those 3 options. We select the last one, so it will render all 3 clouds together. You can choose the scene size, either the whole scene that's on the screen or just the bounding box of the cloud, so just that cloud. You can render with or without background. You can render it as a no background, You can render it as a composite with the background, or you can render the background separately, and you can select your rendering quality, full quality, half, third, or quarter. You select your folder, give it a name, and you press render, and it will render it out to that folder. Very straightforward, very simple. So there are clouds rendered. It's a PNG with no background. To use them, we're going to open OpenToonz and go and find the file. We select a column to import it into. We find the file, we select import, and there are our clouds with no background. So a very cool way to create your clouds. Of course, the one thing it doesn't do is animate the clouds. So in OpenToonz, I guess there's several ways you could animate it. Here we're just going to put our own background on it. So I'm creating a vector box and I just fill it with some blue sky. We look at the basic way, just set a key frame at frame 1 and move it across to say frame 23, 24 and render that out, and that's a slow drift of clouds on a breezy day. Maybe what you want to do is you want to apply some plastic to these clouds and make them move within themselves, and we can do that so that they are moving like fluffy bits of candy floss in the sky. Maybe coming over a mountaintop, they do something like that, or if you're flying through them in an aircraft, etc. So various ways you can animate the clouds out, but this is a very cool tool to use. It's a standalone app. It's not part of OpenToonz, but as I say, it's released by the same people who released OpenToonz. So very cool little app to use to create your clouds. Today we'll be looking at some of the very basics of OpenToonz. So the first thing we'll do is we'll open up our OpenToonz. This is the 1.6 version of OpenToonz. If you're watching this video at a later date, this might be out of date by now, but it's the latest as of when I'm recording this, which is November 2022. So when you open up the workspace, looks like this. You click in it anywhere and it will automatically open up this tab, which is the shortcut to get going. Down here on the right are all the previous scenes that you've been working on. So if you were working on this one here last, which we were, you can click that and it will just open it up where you left off and get going again. Otherwise, if you want to start a new scene, you can start one here. So that's what we'll do. The very first thing you do is you select a project. You can create a project here. You can give it a name, tell it where to put all the various inputs and drawings, etc. We will take a existing project, which is a sandbox, which is when you first start on OpenToonz, everything will be in the sandbox. Later on, you can create your own project folders and put all your work in there. You can see I've got 3 here that I have currently open, but we will select the sandbox for today. So that is the project. All our drawing, all our animation will go into this project. What we're working in here is a scene. So we'll give this scene a name. Let's just say tools example 01, and this scene will be saved in that scene folder in the sandbox, which is a project which is in OpenToonz stuff under the C drive. So we can click that, create scene, and we're going. The very first thing I'll show you here is that OpenToonz works on a basis of what they like to call rooms. So we are currently on the top right here, we are currently in the drawing room. If you click the next button, it takes you to the cleanup room. They're all looking very similar because I haven't set them up, or I've changed the default. The palette room, the ink, paint, animation, schematic, Xsheet, tasks, browsers. Now you can go and set these up as you want them, and then you can go here and you can, in your workspace, lock the room panes so that it remembers your setup here. So whenever you come back into this room, it will take you to how you left it. You probably will spend most of your time in the drawing or the animation room. So we're going to be in the drawing room here. Back to the Windows tab at the top here, everything's here. Your command bar, which is this, your toolbar, which is set up on the left. You can You can move it around. Your style editor, which will pop up somewhere down here, that is for all your colors and your textures, etc. Your palette, we don't have any drawings open, so there's nothing there, but all your colors and your textures will be saved in that palette. What we have here is the viewer. You can set up several viewers in the same workspace, so that's where you'll do it. Flipbook, which I don't use at all. Your X sheet here is this here, so we've already got it open, and your timeline, which is basically the same thing as the X sheet. Your function editor, which is where you can control your animation keys and your curves between keys, etc. Very important, but a little bit more advanced, so we won't look at it right now. Your schematic, again, you're going to use this a lot. We're not going to look at it right now. It basically opens up with your camera and your table, and everything will work off there. We'll get to that at a later stage. Your FX editor, which is basically, if you open up your schematic, it flicks between the stage schematic and the FX editor by clicking this bottom right button here. So you can see we're in the FX schematic, and then we click it again and we're back to the stage schematic. So you'll be using both of those a lot, but we're not going to look at that right now. It's a little bit more involved. We're going to keep this very simple right now. Your level strip, which is over here, this is where all your drawings will go. So your drawings go into the level strip, and then when you are creating an animation, you will be bringing your drawings from that strip into this X sheet. The X sheet actually the X stands for exposure. So in the old days, they would have a camera. It's all digital now, obviously, but they would have a sheet where they write down what frames, etc. they're going to expose, and various levels, overlaying, etc., etc. So this is where all the action happens, right here in the X sheet. The X sheet, a lot of people like keeping it horizontal, which is a traditional way. I learned to do it on the right here in a vertical setup. You can have it either way, it makes no difference. So you'll click between the vertical and the horizontal with this button here. The other thing that you can do here is that you can expand the size of these frames with this tab over here on the right, or if you're doing it horizontally, it will be, give me a second to find it. Sorry, it'll be down here on the bottom. So a lot of people will work like this. It is quite the more traditional layout where you have your exposure sheet at the bottom. As I say, I like having it on the right here. I've just worked that way from the start, so I'm quite used to it. But whatever your layout, whatever your setup you want it to be, you can set it up like that. And as I say, when you have it set up, go to the windows and you can lock your panes there. What we are going to focus on today is we are going to look at our toolbar over here and just look at the tools that OpenToonz offers us. So on the top left here, you can see that button has been selected, and that is the animate button. When that animation button is selected, whatever you have selected in your workspace here will be live to animate. So it will be setting keys as you go. We've gone and set mistakenly a few camera keys here. What we'll do is I'll show you how this works very shortly. Let's just click through a few more of these buttons. Below that is the select button. We have nothing selected here. We have no drawing, so that won't be live yet. Let's create a drawing. On the next button is our paint or our draw button. So that's the paintbrush. Let's go and draw something. So let's just draw a squiggle, and you can see what happens. First of all, in your level strip, there's your very first drawing. So if you select that, that is your drawing. In your X sheet, it puts that very first drawing at the top there, and it is a kind of beigey tan color, if you want to call it that, which tells us it's a vector drawing. So this is just come as a default vector, and that's because it's been set to always open up in the vectors. If we want to create another type of drawing, let's go here and right click, and you go to new level. It has 4 formats. You can select a Toonz vector level, which is what we actually have. You can select a Toonz raster level, which let's do that. Click OK, and you'll see it's green here. So our Toonz vector level is more a beige and the raster level is a green. Click that frame and right click, create a new level here, go back, and there's a raster level. So let's click that. That's blue, and there's a scan level as well, which is the very last thing. If you're scanning in your drawings, you'll be using that. So those are the 4 types of drawing formats that OpenToonz use. You got your Toonz vector level, your Toonz raster level, your straight raster level, and then your scan level. So let's select our raster level and let's go do the same thing with our paintbrush and draw a little squiggly line. So now we have, let's just get rid of these. So just if you want to delete it, you can just right click it and delete, and we'll do the same to the scan level here. So basically what we have here is a vector, a Toonz vector level, which we have selected, and there's a drawing there. And over here we have a Toonz raster level, which we have selected, and it's over there, this thing here. So there's a big difference between vectors and rasters. In illustration, etc., we'd call them bitmaps. Here they're called rasters. The big difference is that I'm selecting the vector level now. Sorry, let me just show you this as well. If you want to turn this off so that you don't see it, you can turn off the visibility here. So if you turn that little eye thing off there, it won't be rendered, but you can still see it. If you turn that little box thing off there or toggle it on off, you won't see it. So we're going to do both here. We're just going to turn that off. We can actually leave that on so it will render, but we don't want to see this. So we're going to turn it off. We go select our very first column here, column 1, and we select our very first frame. And let's just have a look at what we have here. That is a vector. We know it's a vector because you can manipulate it. It has these arms here that you can manipulate your curves. It works on a basis of lines between nodes, which is how all vectors work. So it's mathematical. It just joins basically nodes with lines. So that is our vector. That's basically how vectors work. And if we go and we have a look at, so now we'll turn the vectors off. So now nothing's visible, and we'll turn on our raster level. Let's go back to our paintbrush tool and let us go and draw some more raster lines here. Let's zoom in. How you zoom in is you hold shift and space down at the same time, and you can zoom in by dragging your stylus or your mouse left or right, zoom in and out. You can also use I'll be honest, I've never used anything else. So shift and space bar, zoom in and out, and you can see the basic difference, if you don't already know, between the rasters or the bitmaps and the vectors. There is what happens to a raster when you zoom into it. Rasters are pixels, so it's not a mathematical thing like a vector is. A vector is just basically nodes that have a x and a y coordinate and a path between them, which is the line, and that's how vectors work. So when you zoom into a vector, it's a very different story. To get the hand, just click on your space bar and that'll bring the hand up, and back to zoom in, zoom out with your shift and your space bar on, and you can zoom in and zoom out like that. So hand with the space bar, once it's selected, you can let it go and move it around like this, zoom in, zoom out, shift, space bar. So let's zoom into the vector, and you can see you can zoom until infinity here and it will not break up. So that's the big difference between them. Let's have a look at what we can do to this vector on the toolbar, or what we can do in a vector mode with the toolbar. Let's just turn the rasters off totally, so we are in the vector mode. So first of all, we can draw. We can make the size bigger. We can adjust the accuracy, and we can adjust the smoothing. So you can see there on the smoothing there's a big lag. What it's doing is it's trying to make the joins between these nodes, let's click on it to see the nodes, as smooth as possible. So your settings for your vectors are up there. You can draw shapes in vector mode. So here are all your shapes. You have your rectangles, your circles, ellipse, lines, polyline, arc, multi-arc, polygon. Let's go for a circle and let's draw that circle in. Now Again, a big difference between vectors and rasters is that on the vector mode, you can go and select these lines that you've drawn and you can adjust them. So for instance, if you want to rotate it here, it's selected that whole line. They're all separate. So you can select that whole line and you can scale it and stretch it, etc., etc. You see how as you scale it up, the thickness of that line changes. It goes up and down. You can set it to preserve thickness there. So now you see when you have that selected and you scale that up and down, the actual thickness doesn't change. So when it's very small down here, that thickness is the same, and that thickness is the same as when it's very big. So that's the preserve thickness button, which is quite handy. Let's clean up a few of these things. It's looking pretty messy here. So we've got all our shapes here. Again, you can set your sizing of the thickness of the line here. The other thing that you're going to be doing is filling. Let's just jump text for right now and you go down to the fill. So you can fill shapes. When you create something, when you draw something and you want to fill it, it has to be closed in the vector mode. That's how this works. This won't close. This won't fill because it's not closed. So we just go and close it and then we fill it again and voila, filled. So vectors have to be closed. There's various ways of closing them. We'll get into that. But if you want to fill it, they have to be closed. So let's have a look at changing the colors. Here on the level palette is where we will create our colors. If we pull up we've got two of these open, so let's go and open up our palette. It is open, it's just hidden. There it is there. Now, every column will have its own palette. So what we have here is basically everything has been drawn in black. That is the transparent setting there. So if we select that and we select the fill tool and go fill it, that is now transparent and we've lost our, our level palette. Keeps disappearing on us. Stay with us, buddy. Let's just space, select space, brings up the hand, space bar, and shift and space, zoom in and out so we can bring that back to size. Now, if we want to, goodness, I have lost my, sorry, we need our style editor back, which is there. Let me just try and set this up so that we're not all over the place. So if you want to create a new color for these lines and these fills that you've drawn here, how you will do that is you will use your level palette. It's basically a mixer. Let's create a new color. So it's on color 0 is a transparency. So we had that in action just now. And our first color is black. So if we want to create another color, we can hit the plus and it'll create another black color. We can go and in our level palette, make that whatever color we want. It's a color wheel. You can just drag it around until you find your color, or if you know what your color is, you can use the RGBs down here or the hue saturation value levels here, and A will be alpha, which is taking out the background of it. So if you know your values that you want to, or your RGBs that you want to use, you can set them here. Otherwise you can go and mess around in these and change your colors, etc., here. So let's just make it a orange, if that's an orange, and let's go and draw now. So now when you draw, it will be orange, quite a bright orange. So in this video we're going to look at installing OpenToonz. I've currently got version 6 on my machine and I'll be installing an updated version 7. We'll also look at installing the FFmpeg files so that we can import and export MP4s. So because I've got OpenToonz installed already, if you have, best to go into your OpenToonz stuff file and just call it something else, because that's where OpenToonz will install itself. So it'll create a new OpenToonz stuff file. So just go and give it another name. In this case, I'll just call it OpenToonz stuff-old. And if you click on it, you'll see all the projects in it, in the projects file. Then get on the internet and go to OpenToonz.github site and scroll down to the download section. You can also download GTS, which is scanning software, effects, which are more plugins effects, Kumo Works, which is a cloud drawing add-on to OpenToonz, and Iwa Warper, which I'll be honest, I have no idea what that is. Anyway, just click on OpenToonz and select whether you want to download for Windows or for Mac operating system. I want the Windows version 7.1, so I click that and just go through the normal procedure of downloading the file. It's putting it in the C drive. There's a new OpenToonz stuff folder it'll create. Click next and it will run through the install. Click finish and OpenToonz will boot up. Let's go and just check that it's clean. Go into the project root, there's nothing there, so nothing in scenes. So let's go and copy from our old folder, copy all those projects over. So you can just select that folder that we renamed old and go and grab all those projects in the project folder of that old OpenToonz stuff folder and copy them across to the new OpenToonz stuff folder in the projects file. So pretty straightforward. That's how you get your old work over to the new version. Let's just check that by loading a scene. Go up to the root and there are all the folders we've just copied over. Let's select one and just go and open a scene. There's our scene. Let's just go and take this background out. That is scene 2 that I'm working on currently on the course. So we've got OpenToonz running and we've got the new version installed, and now what we need to do is load the FFmpeg files so that we can import and export MP4 files, which are video files, which you'll need to do. Go File, down to Preferences and down to Import Export, and there is the path that we have to show OpenToonz where to go and find these FFmpeg files. We don't have them yet, so we're still going to download them, but that's where they'll go, or that's where we'll put the path in there. We'll hit those 3 dots at the end and we'll tell it where to go to find this. So let's just go get the FFmpeg files. Type in FFmpeg into your Google. There is a ffmpeg.org site. Go into that. Go and click the download button and that'll give you options whether you want to download the Linux, the Windows or the Apple versions. We're Windows, so let's click on that, and it currently gives you 2 options of the exe files. Let's go have a look at the first one, Codex FFmpeg. Go have a look at the second one. These are auto build files. Let's go and select one of these. We'll select this one down here. Select it. At the top right it's downloading the zip file. When it's finished, let's go and open it. There it is in our downloads folder. Let's go click on it and open it, and in the bin file of that there are the 3 files you need, the FFmpeg, FFplay and FFprobe, all exe files. Go and select them, copy them, and then go across to where OpenToonz stuff has been loaded. It should be on your C drive, and in OpenToonz stuff go and create a new folder, and let's call that folder FFmpeg. Select it, open it, and paste those 3 files in that we've just copied. So there they are, FFmpeg, FFplay and FFprobe. So that's where we're going to save them. And now all we need to do is go back into OpenToonz and give it the path to find those files. So again, go File, scroll down to Preferences, select it, go down to the Import Export section, select that, and there is the FFmpeg path that we have to tell it to go and find the 3 files. Go to the 3 buttons on the right, click that, and then we go and find the folder where these files are saved. So let's go up. It is in C drive, OpenToonz stuff, and the FFmpeg there. So go select that file, and then the bottom right, go and select choose, click it, and you can see there it's told it the path. So C drive, OpenToonz stuff, FFmpeg. That will now work. there's a little asterisk, and at the bottom it says changes will take effect the next time you run OpenToonz, meaning that you have to reboot it. So let's just save this, save all, and let's go close OpenToonz and reboot it. And let's open that scene again, and let's go to preferences, import export. There's our path, it's got it in there. Let's close all that up, and let's go see if it's got the files as an option in the render. So click the render button, and here are output settings. Select file, and let's see what options it has: JPEG, bitmaps, movies, and their MP4. So it's got it as an option. That wouldn't have been there before we did this, and that's the whole point for installing these FFmpeg files. It doesn't come with OpenToonz. This is a add-on that you have to do. That's why we're doing this. And let's just go render this out. It's only one frame, so let's go have a look where it's saved it. It'll be in projects in the outputs file, and there it is there. It's just one frame, but it's MPEG. You can see there in the file. So let's see if it also works on the import. This is so that you can export MP4 files, but also import MP4 files. So let's create a new scene, and let's just go and grab one of these MP4 video files and drag it in, drop it in, and play it. And there we go, it works. So that is a bit of video from the beginning of the second scene. So the FFmpeg works on both the import and export, and we have OpenToonz working. So that's it. We have OpenToonz installed, the new version, and we also have the FFmpeg files installed and working. Thanks once again for tuning into my animation channel. I really appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed already, please go ahead and subscribe. Of course, please go have a look at my Animating with OpenToonz course. There's a lot in there. If you're looking to learn to animate with OpenToonz, it really is for you. So please go check that out, and I hope I'll see you around here again soon. All the best. Bye.